All right, guys, so let's get rocking and rolling here. Hey, Sarah. So, as all of you probably know by now, my name is Jake. I am the founder of The Locker Room, and it is truly, truly, truly an honor and a privilege to serve your coaches, to serve each and every one of you who are part of the Locker Room Nation. Without you, we are nothing. Okay, so we certainly don't take that lightly, and you guys are absolutely incredible. Getting the perspective that I get to have watching nearly 85 market centers and scuba diving into the numbers and each and every one of you and your businesses, it's so, so cool to me. And I just want to thank you and also remind you not to take this for granted. You know, I shot a video last week kind of ranting about engagement, and it's only because I care and your coach cares that we want to see nothing more than you all succeed at a very, very high level. And we know that how you participate here is how you participate everywhere. And so for that being said, thank you for you guys tuning in live with me. If you're watching the replay, awesome. I appreciate that time commitment as well. And today what I wanted to do is kind of share a little bit about my story because Christine, who is out of Jacksonville, Florida, did our huddle last week at the time of me recording this. And it was really cool because she reminded all of us to tell our story. You know, that facts tell, but stories sell. And at the end of the day, if we're just all professional storytellers, you know, your message will resonate with a lot of people. And it's not just about the selling of homes and providing great customer service. It's really what Simon Sinek says when he has that golden circle video, which is that people don't do business with you because of what you do, really. They do business with you because of what you stand for. It's the why behind that. And so for me, I just wanted to resurface this presentation that I've done in the past, which really for me personally tells my story. And it's not about me today, even though through my story, I do hope you see yourselves in it. I'm going to throw some questions and some examples at you through this that I just want you to reflect. How does that apply to your own life? Because we all have a story, right? We all have struggles that we have to get through and opportunities that we've passed up, or maybe you've seized them. And for me, baseball has been such a critical component of my life that some of you, many of you probably don't know anything about that. So I just want to share that with you guys today with your permission, and let's get rocking and rolling. So I've titled this The 5 Success Principles Baseball Taught Me. And over here, so not to bore you with all my wonderful story here, but in T-ball, basically my mom, who can tell the story way better than I can, said, of course, I didn't want to play, you know, and I think that's not rare for a 5-year-old to say, kicking and screaming, he doesn't want to play baseball, let alone do anything, you know, that's very common for young kids to do it. I just found it hilarious, you know, with how she tells the story that really against my will, she made me go play T-ball, and I'm so grateful for that because, as they say, the rest is history, you know. But I am from a small town, man, and we're going to get into a little bit of that throughout my story here, but I'm from Oneida, Illinois, which is a town of 700 people in the sticks of west central Illinois. It's a speck on the map. There's really no major cities nearby. If you're at all familiar with Illinois, it's about 45 minutes from the Quad City area, maybe another 45 minutes to an hour from Peoria, but it truly is as rural as you can get. And so I say that because really there was no path for me. I knew baseball was what I wanted to do as I began to grow up and get pretty darn good at it, but there really wasn't a abounding opportunity world regarding sports in the area that I grew up. And I put there against all odds because we didn't even have baseball as a school sport. When I was entering my freshman year, the summer before that, my parents and a whole bunch of other volunteers from the community went to the school board and pitched the idea that we need to adopt baseball as a school sport. And if not, my family was legit going to move us to Bloomington, Illinois, so I could actually play an organized high school sport of baseball down in Bloomington, which notoriously had a good track record of baseball. So not to bore you with all the background on that, but what ended up happening was the school board voted yes to adopt baseball and, of course, softball into being an organized school sport. And what that meant is literally the cornfield. Okay, we had days where kids drove their tractors to school. I'm not even kidding. Okay, but the cornfield that sat right across from our little Podunk High School, 200 kids in the entire high school, freshman through senior, they converted that cornfield into a baseball diamond. And so with all of our collective efforts, we had to, basically drum up the earth and create that. And it was crazy. So some key highlights there: drafted out of high school, got a full ride scholarship, got drafted again out of college to play for the Angels. I was a high school All-American, All-State, Illinois Player of the Year. You can see it for yourselves. But out of that one decision from the community, created a story for me and a path of opportunity. So in your lives, what path of opportunity have you had to scratch and claw for? What have you had to stand up to against all odds? That's kind of created your story, right? So I just want you to think through that through the examples I'm going to give you today. And some of this, why would I share this? Well, I share this because we all have defining moments in life, right? You can think right now, certain moments in your life when faced with a difficult decision, good or bad or indifferent, you made it and it led you down a certain path, right? And we are not a product of circumstances, but we are a product of our decisions. You're going to hear that a lot. Okay, so wherever you are right now, if you like it where you're at in your life, great, awesome, good for you. If you don't like it or you're not quite fulfilled, there's more inside of you than you're currently showing for, then the good news as well is that you are a product of your decisions. You just need to make the decision, all right? And it's not about what happens to us, it's about how we respond to it. So even if we didn't adopt baseball as a school sport, we had a plan B, C, D, all the way to freaking Z, because damn it, I was going to play baseball. My parents knew how wildly passionate I was and that I actually was good enough to have a chance maybe going somewhere. And I get it. Every parent thinks that their son or daughter is the best thing, in sports. but in this, I really did have some skills and caught some attention of colleges early on. So we weren't going to let that get in the way. Even if they said no, we were not going to take no for an answer. So what defining moments can you reference in your own life? You may want to write those down. I want you to see yourself in these examples that I'm about to give you. Because really what I'm doing, yes, I'm highlighting the 5 success principles baseball taught me, but really, truly what I'm doing is highlighting 5 defining moments in my life because of baseball and where that's led. So here we go. Success principle number 1, guys. Defining moment number 1. Sophomore year playoff game. So here's the backstory. So it was a sophomore year of high school, again, in the sticks of Illinois, and it was a playoff game. And we were playing a nearby town called Sherrard, and it was the second inning. And of course, a typical Midwest storm started to come through with lightning and thunder and tons of rain. And so long story short, the umpires ended up calling the game and postponing it for the next day. Well, when all that was going down, our coach was going ballistic, and I don't know why. None of us do till this day, but he was just ranting and raving and saying how we all needed to get the equipment up, hurry up, get the equipment and run inside, go into the gym. And we were doing the best we could, you got to get the bats and helmets and everything in our bags and make a dash for it. And so once we got into the gymnasium, he sat us all down, and I will never forget the day. Here's a defining moment number 1. As he's chewing our butts out about God knows what, he at one moment during that speech, if you want to call it that, he looked at me and he made like he was looking through me almost, and he pointed his finger right in my face in front of my entire teammates, and he said, "None of you will ever see the inside of a college or pro stadium unless you buy a ticket." Verbatim, those were his words. I will never, ever forget them. None of you will ever see the inside of a college or pro stadium unless you buy a ticket. That's my high school coach, man. Like he's the guy, if anybody, aside from my parents and stuff, that's supposed to be cheering me on and encouraging me to make something out of this. At least you'd think. But to humiliate me in front of my entire teammates, because he knew I had this crazy vision, this crazy dream to, make it from Podunk, Illinois, to play a professional sport. He knew that was a goal of mine, and so right there, I was faced with a decision. That's what we would call a defining moment, right? I could either have said, you know what, this guy's probably right. What do I know? He's been around the block longer than I have. Nobody ever in the history of our school has gone on to play sports at any meaningful level. And after all, I'm in a town of 700 people, and who in God's green earth, as far as professional and college scouts, are going to find this guy playing baseball in the middle of a cornfield? So again, I could have believed in that, but we all get faced with those adversities, those times of decision of I could either go down that path and let that jerk tell me what my dreams could or could not be, or I could do something about it. And so what I chose to do, those of you that don't know me, I'm 6'6" tall, and they don't make them like that in the cornfields very often. So I was pretty damn good at basketball too. But what I made the decision of from that moment right then is I went all in, baby. I went all in. And so I didn't play any other sports, football, basketball, nothing. I went all in on baseball and committed the rest of my time to working out and developing myself as a player so I could prove this turd wrong. And we did that. So success principle number 1 through that story is never, ever let someone else dictate your dreams, ever. Just because someone gave up on their dreams doesn't give them permission to talk you out of yours. He's a guy, if he wanted to play, he was like a 3rd string catcher in his high school playing years. Well, I'm sorry that he didn't make it. He didn't get to fulfill his dreams, but that doesn't mean he could talk me out of mine. You with me? So where is that showing up in your life? Sometimes your own relatives, your mom, dad, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, spouse, somebody is trying to poo-poo on your dreams just because they might feel a little bit insignificant around you in the event that you would actually achieve that. All right. So whoever that is, let the haters be your motivators. They're just drinking their haterade. And I will swear to my grave, one of the most powerful things is somebody who plays with a chip on their shoulder. So what do you got to do to play with a chip on your shoulder? Who is it that's trying to tell you that you cannot do something? Let that fuel you. Let that motivate you. You've got something to prove. If nothing else, prove it to yourself. But you owe it to yourself, and I believe personally, through your actions, you owe it to other people to inspire them of what they can achieve. Show them what's possible. And here's the thing, you guys. I've spoken at a lot of like sports banquets and different things telling my story, and traditionally it's always stopped right there. It's like nana nana boo boo. I ended up going on and playing college and professional baseball. I saw a lot of freaking cool stadiums. And so thanks, coach. Thanks for the motivation. And yet what I learned until about 2 years ago, listening to an audiobook called The Storyteller's Secret. Check that out if you never have, The Storyteller's Secret. And it hit me. I remember the moment. I remember exactly where I was when I heard it. And I realized, oh my God, the gift inside of that day was not necessarily just to fuel my fire to go on and prove to him that I could play, and saw a lot of really cool stadiums. But the gift in that moment was it lit something inside of me, you guys. That internal flame, that passion, because I will never, ever be that person that says you can or cannot, or I'm sorry, that you can't do something. So whatever you tell me as a coach, you say you want to make $1 million a year, awesome, let's go do that. I'm not going to laugh at you. I'm not going to crap on your dreams or tell you you're thinking too big, let's get realistic. That ain't me. And I credit a lot of that to that day, my passion. I get freaking fired up, man, when it comes to this kind of stuff, because I've experienced it like we all probably have at some point, where somebody tried to derail you and say that you need to shrink yourself. You need to be smaller. Well, I don't think so, right? And I went on to play a full ride scholarship down in Florida. Got drafted out of high school, like I said, in the 18th round by the Oakland A's. Turned that down to go to college instead on a full ride. And then my junior year in college, when I was draft eligible again, I got drafted by the Anaheim Angels and went on to play professional baseball with the Anaheim Angels. So again, to this day, he doesn't remember he said that, but I would just sarcastically say, thanks, coach, for the motivation. Okay. So anyways, what does that look like for you? Okay. In the face of adversity, what do you choose? Advance boldly in the direction of your dreams, or are you going to retreat fearfully into a world of mediocrity? Okay. And I already told you about my aha moment, but that's me and my best buddy, Jared. We were played for the Orem Owls out in Orem, Utah in our first year of minor league baseball. So pretty cool. All right. Success principle number 2, defining moment number 2, Legion Summer Baseball Game. This one is so cool to me, guys. So it was the summer between my junior and senior years of high school. Check this out. So we were playing in Farmington, Illinois, which is, again, like just a speck on the map. And before the game, there was two college scouts there. One was Dewey Kelmer from Bradley University, and I can't remember the other one, but I think they were from a junior college. And they came to see me play. They knew I was pitching that game. And so yeah, they were camped out and they introduced themselves before the game. But as I'm warming up in the bullpen before the game, there's this gentleman who walks up. He's in a straw hat. And I could tell he was somebody. I'd never seen him before, didn't know who the heck he was. And he comes up and introduces himself. And he tells me his name and who he is. And it turns out he's from the Major League Scouting Bureau, which, by the way, if you're not familiar, the Major League Scouting Bureau, they send out these guys. There's only like a dozen of them across the country. They send out these guys and they represent all 30 major league teams. And check this out. So he was actually traveling from Chicago down towards St. Louis to see a kid play. He had just gotten done watching a prospect play up in the Chicago area. He was driving through down towards St. Louis to see another kid play. And literally, he saw baseball lights on at a field. He pulled over, and sure enough, that was my game. I'm not kidding you guys. That was my game. And I went on to throw a complete game, only allowed 2 hits. I hit 2 home runs during that game and had one of the better games of my life during that summer. So I had the right game in front of the right guy, and he and I started talking after the game about how he was going to send my name and information to all 30 major league teams. He ended up coming over to my house, giving me all these crazy like vision assessments and personality assessments and things. It was crazy, you guys, an experience of a lifetime, all because this guy was traveling from Chicago, Illinois down to St. Louis. He saw some baseball lights on, he pulled over, and sure enough, there I was. I had the right game in front of the right person. So my success principle number 2 to take away from the story is you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching. For some of you, that includes your kids, okay? You think you're role modeling the right behavior, but everything you say, everything most importantly you do is being watched, and you never, ever know who's watching. You might have the right quote unquote game in front of the right person that puts yourself on the map, okay? So what is it? Hustle, grit, determination. That's all a choice. Are you choosing to show up every day? Hey, look, this guy didn't have to pull over that day. What if, and I don't even, God, it gives me chills to even think about, what if I didn't run out one ground ball all the way to first base? What if I threw my helmet and wanted to pout because maybe I struck out or something didn't quite go my way? What if I would have done that, not knowing who that guy was in the stands? He would have written me off on his list so fast. He's got 1,000 other kids to go see play. Man, don't give anybody a reason to cross you off their list. My equivalent to running out a ground ball to first base is your equivalent of making your contacts, guys. Are you choosing to make 9 out of 10 because it's good enough and nobody's going to know? Or are you holding yourself to a different standard? Are you holding yourself accountable to making 10 contacts a day because you said you were going to make 10 contacts a day? What if the equivalent is me throwing my helmet and pouting that game, equivalent to you throwing a little pity party and having a victim mindset? Successful people are resourceful. Failures or unsuccessful people, whatever that means, blames the resources. Are you being resourceful? Because I got news for you. You got KW, you got everything here with the locker room. If you don't have a chance to succeed here, I don't know if this is the right business for you. Right? But you got to plug in, man. The coach can't do it for you. I can't do it for you. What game are you going to have in front of the right person that changes your entire career? Scratch that. It changes your entire life. Guys, I tell this all the time during my introductions. A lot of you have Ignite going on right now, myself included in our office. When I got the call from my operating principal as a brand new agent, I'd been with Keller Williams for 2 months. I sold 1 home, man. And I was in the middle of Ignite and I got a phone call from our operating principal saying she needed to talk to me. And when I called her back, she wanted me to come in on Monday morning and have a conversation with her to discuss the team leader opportunity. And I'm like, hang on a minute, I'm the new guy. Dude, I've sold one home. What kind of validity do I have to be the team leader of this office, right? So I had all those drunk monkeys going on. And you know what she said? What she said was two things. She had been following me on Facebook for 2 months and saw all of my positive quotes and things that I put out there. She knew I ran a couple successful businesses beforehand. And she, quote unquote, observed my participation in Ignite. Guys, what more do I need to say? You never know who's watching. You don't know what career path this crazy industry of real estate is going to take you on. For some of you, you think you're set out to run this mega agent team maybe, and you end up becoming a trainer or a coach or whatever. Maybe you're going to become an investor in a market center. Maybe you're going to become an owner. Who knows? But what I know for certain is you better run the ball out to first base every time because you don't know who's watching. Okay, and that's what that taught me. I just went over that. Okay, success principle number 3. Hopefully we're doing good out there. Drop me some thumbs up or hearts or comments. Let me know if this is speaking to you at all. Success principle number 3. Defining moment number 3. The arm injury. Oh, that led to me, quote unquote, retiring. That's me in the Angels clubhouse over there in that picture. So, excuse me. Adversity makes you stronger is my success principle. Adversity makes you stronger. Some of you right now are dealing with some stuff. Let's just call it stuff. It's adversity. You don't have a bad day. You have a bad 5 minutes, guys. All right? You're going to muscle your way through it. I believe in you. Your coach believes in you. If you ever need more belief, come borrow some more from us and we'll loan it to you. All right? But adversity can make you stronger. Do you choose faith or fear? Both you can't see. But let me tell you about my arm injury and heading me into ultimately retirement. All right, so I will never forget it. July 4th, 2006. That was it, July 4th, 2006. I was playing out in Idaho Falls, Idaho, minor league baseball. And I had pitched that game. And I felt the all too familiar feeling in my arm because my junior year of college, I tore a ligament in my elbow and I had to get what they call Tommy John surgery. Well, after surgery, I couldn't pick up a baseball for 16 months. So I basically had to learn everything all over again. And that next year I got drafted. It was kind of what they call a draft and follow situation because they knew I was talented, even though I was on injured reserve, but they drafted me anyways. And so I pitched two years after my initial surgery, made it into pro ball, got in the minor leagues. And it was during that time, July 4th, 2006, that I retore a ligament in my elbow. And I'd always promised myself that I would never get a second surgery. If I ever retore my pitching elbow, that's it, man. I'm hanging up the spikes. And so what happened was during that game, we got back on the bus. It was an away game, like I said, out in Idaho. And we got back to the hotel. When all the guys were getting off the bus, I stayed in my seat because I wanted to talk to the manager. And I knew that he was always the last one to get off the bus to the hotel. So after everybody gets off, I make my way up to the front and I look at Coach and I said, Coach, can I talk to you for a second? And what he did, he just looked up at me and he said, it's your arm, isn't it? And I broke down, you guys. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit it. I absolutely broke down. And I said, yeah, it's my arm. It's done. It's gone. And he said, and I started to get emotional. He said, tell you what, get yourself together. Let's talk tomorrow. It's going to be okay. And so literally I went to the corner of the hotel for hours. I just curled up in the fetal position, crying my eyes out, texting my parents because I knew it was over. I knew it was done. Everything I ever wanted to do, playing professional baseball and making it, was gone. It was gone. And so I didn't know. I was going through an identity crisis. What in the hell am I going to do now? This is what I've poured my heart and soul into for years. I didn't even pay attention to college studies because all I wanted to do was play baseball. So, but I just remember it, just curled up outside against the hotel wall and just having to come to grips with reality that it's over, it's done. And so to make a long story short, I ended up talking to him the next day, rode out the rest of that road trip with the team. Once we got back to Orem, Utah, I packed up my locker, went home, and that was it. That was it. And I was pretty bitter. I was bitter about the game of baseball for a couple of years. I just needed to distance myself from it because I didn't know what the heck I was going to do now. I got to go get a real job, you know? But that's what it means there with adversity makes you stronger. What are you choosing right now? Are you choosing faith or are you choosing fear? Some of us make decisions based out of fear way too long, and we put fear before the best interests of our family. Come on. If you weren't fearful, what would you do? You know the answer. Don't pretend like you guys don't know what to do. You know exactly what to do. You're just choosing not to do it, for many of you, because of something related to fear. Maybe it's the fear of the unknown, the fear of being rejected, the fear of not knowing what to say, the fear of looking stupid. I don't know. But are you operating out of faith or fear? Because both are believing in something that you cannot see. Which are you going to choose? You can't always make sense of why things happen when they happen. It's only looking back that we get to connect the dots. In that moment, curled up against the hotel wall, man, I didn't know why that was happening. Why at that moment? Why me? You know, all these questions that we like to throw at ourselves in our drunk monkey talks too. But now I get it. I wasn't made to play baseball. Sure, it created some cool experiences. It created some lifelong friendships. But God had a different plan for me. And now I understand when I can look back. I was able to use some of that, even for things like today, maybe to inspire you. That was the real message and real reason he gave me the gift of being pretty good at baseball. But apparently it wasn't in the cards because he had a bigger plan and a purpose for my life, in which case I happily take ownership of. So maybe right now you're wondering, why hasn't business come quicker? If you're a newer agent, I'm looking around and you know, everybody else is getting business and what's wrong with me? Are your efforts really going to lead to the business? You're working hard, a lot of evenings, hours, weekends, and you're not seeing anything for it. And you're questioning, gosh, is this really for me? Maybe I should quit and go get a quote unquote real job, something that's more secure. All of these things go in our heads. And I'm just going to challenge you, faith over fear, right? Everything happens for a reason. Whatever conflict, whatever chaos you're going through right now. I had to share this with some of our locker room coaches. If you're not, life in a nutshell is basically, you're either in chaos, you just left chaos, or you're getting ready to go into chaos. And that is life, ladies and gentlemen. To use a baseball little analogy, life throws you curveballs, doesn't it? So sit back and wait for the fastball right down the middle and knock it out of the park. Right now, some of you are getting thrown curveballs and you don't understand why. Well, guess what? That's to serve a greater purpose. It's to pass the test to make sure that you can bear the responsibility of something greater for your life. So go out there and pass the damn test, you guys. Take on the challenge. Muscle your way through that adversity. Don't let somebody else tell you you can't do it. You'll get through it. I believe in you. Your coach believes in you. We all believe in you. Take time to reflect, smell the roses, learn from your mistakes, learn from the failures. How can this serve you? That's one of my favorite questions. Whatever you're going through right now, how can this serve you in the future? Right? Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So make this, whatever situation you might be in, how is this going to serve you? What's it going to look like when you're on the other end of it? And you can look back and say, aha, now I get it. Now I get why you did that. Okay? Guys, stay committed to the process. I keep hounding you on it. Consistency plus persistency equals success. You have got to commit to the process. Okay? And there you have it at the bottom. It's not always about the destination. The journey matters too. It's the challenges, you guys. It's the obstacles, the adversity. It's not about achieving the goal. It's about who you become on the way towards achieving your goal, right? Be, do, have, and it's about the be. I can strip you of all the medals and awards, but what I can't strip you of is the experiences and the skill sets you had to develop in order to become that person who has the things you want to have, right? So the journey matters. What would be different? You know, if I was a coach and I was coaching a 12-year-old travel baseball team, and I said, hey guys, welcome to the first practice of the season. So good to see you guys. And oh, by the way, here's the 6-foot tall trophy. I just want you to already know you guys are the champions. You already won the league. Congratulations. Now, probably what would happen is for maybe 10 minutes, hey, cool, we won, right? The kids, the parents, myself, we would all jump up and down because we got this big ass trophy and we feel good, let's celebrate. But once that honeymoon phase is over, what do you think is going to happen next? We're going to look up and say, well, gosh, wait a minute. I didn't do anything for this. I've only been to one practice. We haven't even played a game yet. Right? So it's not about the destination as much as it is about the journey, and allowing yourself to appreciate the adversities and knowing how that can serve you in the future. Because if I just give you the trophy before the season's even begun, what good is that? It's empty. Man, it's the blood, sweat, and the tears. It's the long hours. It's being the first one there and the last one to leave. That's what makes it all worth it. So again, for you in your businesses, if you're there lead generating and that's the last thing on earth you actually want to do, I got news for you. Double down, do more of it. Because whatever it is you don't want to do, whatever it is that makes your palms sweaty every time you think about it, that is exactly what you need to do and do more of. I want you to fail faster. I want you to fail more often, because that failure is only going to advance and accelerate your success in this business. Stop hiding from fear. Stop trying to overcomplicate things that are not complicated, but you do that so you hide behind the complexity and then can blame it as an excuse. Come on, I'm getting real now. I'm preaching. All right, moving on to success principle number 4. Hope we're doing good out there. I know I've got some viewers. All right, guys, success principle number 4, defining moment. Endure the sacrifice to enjoy the reward. So here, let me tell you what that means. So in college specifically, we had to do what we called 5x5s. So what a 5x5 is if you were on a tennis court, which is where we did this at, down, back, down is 1. Well, guess what? For every loss from the previous year, we had to do 25 5x5s for every single loss. So that morning after we lifted weights, which by the way, we got up every morning at 4:30 and went and lifted weights. After that, we had to go out to the tennis court and run 25 5x5s for every loss that we had the previous year. I'm telling you what, that ain't fun, man. That's not fun. But again, endure the sacrifice to enjoy the reward. Weights and then class. So after we did that, by 8 o'clock, we had to, of course, get home to our dorm and shower and get to class by 8. And then you have a full day of class up until about noon or 1 o'clock. And then you're at practice for the rest of the afternoon. You go home, you do your homework, and rinse and repeat the next day. Okay. Other things we had to do, 6-minute mile every year. We had some guys who were not quite, runners, you could say, but every person had to run the 6-minute mile. I'm talking under 6 minutes. Okay, so we'd have to go out to the track, and you can finish at 5:59, but if you can finish on 6 minutes or even a millisecond above 6 minutes, you had to run it over and over and over again every single day until you made it under 6 minutes. And what it proved was its mindset. It's mind over matter. Even some of the more hefty guys or lesser athletic guys who were just not runners could do it. And it defied all odds. It makes me think of the Roger Bannister story of who broke the 4-minute mile. Everybody said it was impossible. And all we got to do is run a 6-minute mile. Big whoop-de-doo. Hell Week. Every year, when we got back from Christmas break, we had to do Hell Week. We wake up at 4:30 in the morning for a week straight. We go out in the cold, even in Florida, it got cold. And we would have to run for 3 hours in the parking lot. Every day, we did the math. It equaled about 8 miles a day in the parking lot. Guys were vomiting. Guys had stress fractures. People, it was literally hell. And it didn't stop there. We had to do ab exercise and everything that made up Hell Week, but the big chunk of that was running. All right. And then some of you, ladies especially, will get a kick out of this one, the flex off. So I can't even, every year we would have to do the UNF flex off. And this was just the baseball team. So we would go up to this, basically like this clubhouse thing where every sorority girl was there. It was embarrassing, you guys. So every sorority girl on campus was at the thing for the flex off. And what we broke down into weight classes. and we had to go up in baby oil. There was guys throwing up in the bathroom because they were so nervous before they had to go out on stage. And they're lathered up in baby oil under the lights on stage in front of all these screaming women, and they had to do flexes. We had to flex our chest, our biceps, triceps, legs, you name it, our back. We had to do it in front of all these screaming women. It was atrocious for someone like me. I'm not the most ripped guy in the world, okay? But what it's taught us was we can get through anything. And I remember Coach always telling us, if you can get through this, you can get through any sales presentation or anything you got to get through for your family. You can do that if you can get on stage in front of, 500 women in baby oil. And he was right. So all of that to be said, here's the success principle. Guys, girls, ladies and gentlemen, success is boring. It is unsexy. It is repetitious, and it is hard frickin' work. There are no shortcuts. But here's the question. Do you love the game enough that you're willing to go through the process? For me, in that picture, I absolutely loved with a passion being on that mound. I wouldn't trade anything for it. That's my happy place, being on that mound with that baseball in my hand. I didn't give a shit what I had to do, flex off mile, 6 or Hell Week, weights, 5x5. I didn't care. Because once I got that ball in my hand on the mound, everything was worth it. Do you have that same level of passion for this business, for your family? Do you have the attitude that you're going to do whatever it takes, including lead generation or simple things like script practice, because you love the game? And by the way, the game for you might be the listing presentation. It might be the buyer consultation. The game for you might be handing keys to somebody at that closing table. Wherever you find your fulfillment in this, do you love it enough that you're willing to endure the sacrifices necessary? Big question, right? Do you have a team to surround yourself with when things get hard? Look, none of us, not a single one of us, would have gotten through those 5x5s, weight, 6-minute mile, Hell Week, flex off, you name it. Not one of us would have done that if our team wasn't there cheering us on. You got to have people in your life, man, that are holding you up, dusting you off when you fall down and lifting you back up. Who is it? If you're trying to go about this thing and isolate yourself from the pack because you're special and you're a lone wolf and you're a real estate ninja that thinks they know it all, give me a break. You need people around you because nobody succeeds alone. You don't just need a coach. You need a peer group. You need an accountability partner. You need as much as you can to buffer from what the world looks like as soon as you leave your office, full of skeptics, no's, hate, all that stuff. Who are you surrounding yourself with? I'm telling you, who you're in business with matters. We are the average of the top 5 people that we associate ourselves with. So who is that for you? And let that be a checkup from the neck up. One of those things, earlier I mentioned these 5x5s. I remember one distinct morning how serious we took this. Check this out. Actually, it might be on the same. Yeah, it is. Okay. One of those mornings as we're doing them, we were literally on number 23 of 25. And we're pooped at this point. Well, guess what? Every single person, you better be going all out, sprint the entire time. You take one off, we start back from 0. Well, in this specific case, one of my teammates, I remember he was 2 down from me, he didn't touch the line. He pulled up like a few inches short of the baseline, and coach saw that and he said, all right, we're starting over. We were at 23, man, we're almost done. And we had to go all the way back to 0 and start all over again. That's no joke. That's standards, right? He could have pretended like he didn't see it. He's got better things to do. We all got class to get to, but he kept us out on that tennis court in the freezing cold because one guy came up 3 inches short on one of the 5x5s. How are you creating standards around yourself and those you associate with? You have people in your life that say, it's okay. Here's a participation trophy. You're trying hard. You did good. Or do you have people that care so damn much about your development and your success that they're going to say, hey, you didn't touch the line, man. Time to start over again. What that can look like is, like I said earlier, are you making 10 contacts a day? Or do you have other people around you that would say something if you pulled up short of the line and made 9 instead of 10? Are they going to call you out and say, hey, start over? You should want that. You should specifically place that level of uncomfortable accountability into your world and have to report to someone, of what you did or did not do? Are you willing to accept the preparation for this greatness that is inside of each and every one of you? It's not going to come easy. Blood, sweat, tears, long hours, sacrifices. But do you enjoy the game? And are you willing to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve whatever it is you're setting out to achieve here? One of the most common things that we as coaches say is, are you willing to take a stand for your greatness more than you're willing to take a stand for your own limiting beliefs? I know what I'm going to choose. I'm going to take a stance for your greatness. So if you want to be pissed off at me, or you don't like something I say for the day, the week, or the month, that's fine. Because I'll say it and I say it again. I care more about each and every one of you than I care about our relationship. You don't have to like me. This is not a popularity contest for me. But I will say what needs to be said to serve you, whether you want to hear the truth or not. And I'm not always right. I'm definitely not always right. But in most cases, your coach has a different perspective, and they're not in the emotional attachment and being in the weeds the same way you are. And so we can see things a little bit differently and a little bit more clearly. Okay? All right, guys, here's number 5. Here it is. Success principle number 5, defining moment. Oh, man, this is the last one. I totally blew it, but that's okay. Don't be late and touch the line. 4:30, not a minute late. So what that means is every morning, like I said, we had to show up at 4:30. And what that really meant was you showed up at 4:15. Because if one person was a second late, guess what? Because we all had to sign in on a sign-in sheet the minute you entered the campus gym. And if one person showed up 1 minute late, coach sent us all home. And some people may think, oh, well, just go back to bed. No. I wish. Because when we showed up later in the afternoon for a 1 p.m. practice, you better believe we're going to pay for it. If one person on the team didn't show up on time, well, then we all paid the price. Because a lot of us, if not all of us, roomed with somebody else. So if my alarm went off and I got there on time, but I didn't think to wake up my teammate so he would get there on time, that's on me, right? That's accountability. And we just talked about the 5x5 thing. So standards matter. There's no such thing as a minimum standard. The standard is the standard. So whatever you currently allow for yourself, that is the standard. Regardless of what you say, I'm more interested in what you do. Our choices do affect other people. This is more than you. Get out of your own way, right? Who are you letting down by not completing the 10 contacts a day like Ignite tells us? Let me put this in perspective for you. So if Ignite tells us to do 10 a day, there's nothing hard about that. And you pull up short, just one short, and make 9 out of 10. Bear with me now, I'm going to throw some math at you. Let's pretend you work 50 weeks out of the year, and you work 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So could you agree that that's 250 working days out of the year, and you get weekends off, you get 2 weeks for vacation off, okay? 50 weeks times 5 days a week. Now, if you compound that over one contact short every single one of those days, that is 250 missed contacts. Now, you may or may not know this, but pretty standard as far as the industry is concerned, and I've tracked the living bejesus out of this for the locker room too. It's about for every 50 conversations, you get a new piece of business. Okay, that's the ratio, 50 to 1. So if that is true, and I took 250 missed conversations divided by 50, that means I missed out on 5 pieces of business over the course of a year. If your average commission is $6,000, how do you feel right now costing your family $30,000 for the year? I don't know about you. I can't go home and look my 2 baby girls in the eye saying, Daddy did everything he could today to provide for you and create that extraordinary life. I can't do it. I'd rather stay at work and hide in my little turtle shell or something, man. You think this compound effect isn't real? Check it. Everything matters. What is your standard? Touch the line. Don't pull up a few inches short thinking coach ain't going to see you. Okay? It's what you do when nobody's looking that defines your character, not doing things just because you want to make coach proud or whatever. Don't do it to be seen. Do it because you know the impact it's going to have on your life and your family's life. You cannot complain about the things you tolerate, right? So if you're not putting in the work, yet you mysteriously expect it to show up, I'm sorry. I don't feel sorry for you. You got to show up. You got to play all in. It's a choice. I didn't say it's going to be comfortable or easy, but it is simple and it is possible. You actually go from being impossible to possible to probable. If you just put in the work, time on task over time, everything you want becomes probable. Okay? 212 degrees. That's a big one. Do anybody here know what that stands for? You probably do. It stands for the boiling point of water. Hey, good job. So at 211 degrees, water is just really, really flipping hot. Okay? But if you turn it up that one extra degree, or in our case, that one extra ounce of effort, all of a sudden you get boiling water. And you know what that does? Boiling water produces steam, and steam can power a locomotive. So in your life, are you operating at 212 degrees? You're playing all in. You're playing to win instead of playing not to lose? Or are you operating scared and fearful and maybe at good enough level, which is 211 degrees? I don't know. Choice is yours. What are you currently not doing that if you did do it would completely change the game? Y'all know what it is. For every single one of you, it either probably comes down to focus on in time blocking, or more likely it's lead generation, because that's the one thing we don't want to have to do, but we got to do it to get the business. Okay, you know what to do. Take pride in what you do, you guys. Always over deliver. This whole crap about under promise, over deliver, forget that. Over promise and then over deliver. How about that? Raise the standard. Over promise, over deliver. Make them understand they will not get that kind of experience with anyone else other than you. And they will rave about you. They will refer your name so damn much that those days of lead generation, believe it or not, they get easier. Because what if the phone actually rang to you instead of you having to try and call people on the other line? Okay? And one of the principles that I operate Locker Room off of, and always have, always will, is are you trying to compete or are you dominating? Massive difference. Man, if there's no such thing as competition, if you're just out there dominating, stay in your lane, focus on you. If your jam is open houses, I want you to do open houses better than anybody else on the face of the planet can do them. I'm talking bouncy houses, clowns, balloons, blow it up. I want you to dominate. Forget about this competition mindset. Go dominate. Final exercise, you guys. Here's something you may want to write down if this interests you. We're going to wrap it up here in a few minutes. First thing I want you to do is write down a time in your life when you were successful. Think back. When was a time in your life that you were on your game? You were at the pinnacle of whatever it is you do. Write it down. Then I want you to consider what were the habits you committed to that led to this success. Were you practicing that craft every day, time on task? What was your mindset like? Were you passionate? You couldn't wait, you couldn't sleep? What was it? All these behaviors and mindsets and things that you carried when you were at peak performance, man. I want you to think back and relive that and write those down, journal it down. Who were you surrounding yourself with at that moment? Then on the flip side, different sheet of paper or something, write down a time in your life when you failed. You were disappointed. You fell short of what you thought you were going to achieve. I want you to go there. Let yourself go there. Write down that time in your life when you failed. And then, same kind of exercise, I want you to consider what were the self-defeating habits you practiced that led to failure. Because I'll bet you weren't as passionate. I'll bet you didn't invest as much time and energy into it. I'll bet you that your mindset was kind of wishy-washy. I'll bet you didn't surround yourself with other like-minded and positive people. I don't know. I don't want to give you the answers, but I want you to write that time down and consider all the other factors that led to it. Now, the last and final thing is, once you've completed that, what did you write down that's showing up in your real estate business right now? Out of all those things that you would have just listed, what is showing up right now? Are they self-defeating? Are you sabotaging yourself? Or are they the habits and the people and the mindset like it was when you were on the top of your game? Which one? Right now. This will prevent you from drifting into isolation and victim mindset. And just be real. Nobody else has to see this. Just be real. Answer those questions, screenshot it, whatever you got to do. I can always post it. This playback will be available, but I want you to do this exercise. All right. Okay, guys, that's what I've got for you today. Please, you just invested 50 minutes of your life to listen to this. I would love, 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 nothing more than for you to share what spoke to you for others to read and benefit from. What was your aha moment or moments from this? Was there anything, or did we just waste an hour of each other's life? You let me know. It's not for me, it's for you to repeat what stood out, and for your fellow peers to gain wisdom from you based on what you heard and how you heard it. All right. So anyways, guys, these are the top 5 business success principles that I learned personally from baseball, and having the defining moments that if we just kind of pull ourselves out, zoom out for a second, what do you see? Whatever it is you're going through, be honest with yourself. What can you learn from that experience, that's going on right now, and use it to serve you in the future, not against you? So with that, again, my name is Jake, founder of The Locker Room. You guys are amazing. Drop some comments. Let me know what aha moments stood out to you. If this was impactful, share it with your peer. Say, hey, go back and watch that recording. You can thank me later. I don't know. You guys tell me yes or no. If this sucked, it sucked. If it was good, it was good. I'll own it either way. And you guys go have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you all very, very soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.